Good evening from Mission Control Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room on this Friday night, where flight controllers here belonging to the Orbit 3 team are monitoring their consoles with an unpiloted ISS Progress 79 cargo craft, the Russian resupply vehicle, in the home stretch of a two-day journey to deliver almost 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies to the Expedition 66 crew on board the orbital laboratory. The Progress, which launched 2 days ago, is about 9 kilometers away from the International Space Station. All of the rendezvous maneuvers, the engine firings to raise the Progress ship's altitude since its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome and to fine-tune its path, honing in on the International Space Station for docking just about 48 minutes from now. All of those engine firings have gone very well. No problems reported whatsoever. A short time ago, the Core's automated rendezvous system on the Progress vehicle and a comparable system on the service module, the Zvezda service module, which is the port of call tonight for the Progress ship, that all checked out. The automated rendezvous system communicating just fine, and we expect a smooth and uneventful approach by the Progress for its docking to the aft port of the Zvezda service module in about 47.5 minutes to wrap up this two-day journey, bringing another supply ship to the International Space Station. This docking tonight comes just a little over a week after the previous ISS Progress resupply ship, the 78 Progress ship, undocked from the Poisk module and did a relocation maneuver 24 hours later to redock to the new Naoka multipurpose laboratory module. The point of that exercise was to put that Progress at the port of Naoka so that it could test out the new multi-purpose laboratory module's propellant lines in advance of a thruster test that was conducted over the past 24 hours successfully, now providing the ability for roll control, orientation control of the International Space Station by the recently arrived multi-purpose laboratory module.
Space to ground 1, mission control Moscow. Go ahead.
The journey of the Progress 79 cargo ship to the International Space Station began 2 days ago on Wednesday night U.S. time, early Thursday morning in the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, as the Soyuz 2.1A booster lifted off from launch site 31, pad 6, on its way to the International Space Station, an on-time launch that sent the Soyuz and the Progress vehicle atop the third stage, enshrouded in the third stage of the Soyuz booster, sending it to the northeast, away from the Baikonur Cosmodrome and the start of its two-day journey. It took 8 minutes and 45 seconds for the Soyuz booster to deposit the Progress into its preliminary orbit. Seconds after spacecraft separation, the solar arrays on the Progress vehicle and its navigational antennas all deployed as planned, and the Progress began the series of pre-programmed automated engine firings to put itself into a position where it is now in the home stretch of its journey, ready to dock to the International Space Station's Zvezda service module.
And the transmission is on.
The International Space Station is currently flying 258 Statute miles over the northwest Pacific Ocean, moving from northwest to southeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. The Progress is about 7 kilometers away from the International Space Station, about 21 minutes away from starting a 114-degree fly-around in the neighborhood of the International Space Station that will result in its putting on the brakes for a short period of station keeping, about 150 meters away from the station. That period of station keeping would allow Russian flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside Moscow, who are in charge of tonight's operation. And there's a live view from a balcony camera overlooking their large flight control room in Korolyov outside of Moscow. That period of station keeping will allow those flight controllers to assess the precise alignment of the forward docking probe on the Progress resupply ship with the aft port of the Zvezda service module before the commands are given to initiate the final approach that will result in contact and capture. A few minutes after that, when relative motion between the two vehicles dampens out, the retraction of that docking probe will begin to initiate the closing of the hooks on both sides of the docking interface, and a hard mate will be achieved for the Progress vehicle that is scheduled to remain at the aft port of Zvezda until next spring. The Progress is delivering 3,351 pounds of dry cargo, 1,212 pounds of propellant, 926 pounds of water, 106 pounds of air, and 28 pounds of nitrogen, all that adding up to 5,623 pounds of supplies and cargo, 2.8 tons being delivered by the Progress tonight to the International Space Station. 7 kilometers now separating Progress from its destination at the aft port of the Zvezda service module, and as we said, all of the rendezvous operations are going by the book so far. No issues reported by the flight controllers outside of Moscow.
I have a video server and TV display, and I have confirmation for TV activation, the recording, and incrementation on NASA 3.
Aboard the International Space Station at this hour, most of the crew is asleep except for the 2 cosmonauts on board the complex. Anton Shkaplerov and Pyotr Dubrov are in the Zvezda service module. At the control panel known as the Toru, the telerobotically operated rendezvous panel, they are ready to take over manual control of the flying of the Progress for its docking in the unlikely event there would be a failure or a problem would occur with the Corps' automated rendezvous system. So far, Corps is locked on solidly to bring Progress in for an automated docking. Once the docking is achieved and hooks are closed, Shkaplerov and Dubrov will conduct leak checks over the course of about 90 minutes or so to make sure that we have an airtight seal at the docking interface between Progress and Zvezda before they open the hatch to the Progress resupply ship and begin to unload some of the more time-critical cargo items that are on board the resupply vehicle. Here in Mission Control in Houston, as mentioned at the top of our broadcast, the Orbit 3 team of flight controllers on console. In the white shirt in the foreground is Paul Kanya, the flight director, who is presiding over tonight's activities. To his right, veteran astronaut Ann McClain is the Capcom, or spacecraft communicator, who would be talking to the crew on board the International Space Station if required during the course of tonight's operations. While this activity is ongoing, down at the Kennedy Space Center, the 4 astronauts who are scheduled to launch in the wee hours Sunday morning on Halloween are in their final preparations for their journey to the International Space Station on their own right. From left to right, the Crew 3 Endurance commander of the SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft, Raja Chari, joined with pilot Tom Marshburn and mission specialists Matthias Maurer of the European Space Agency and NASA astronaut Caleb Barron, again wrapping up all of their final preparations on the assumption that the weather will cooperate to allow a launch on Sunday morning. As we speak, a launch readiness review is being conducted by NASA and SpaceX officials down at the Kennedy Space Center as they try to wrap up a few loose ends and continue the march toward a scheduled launch on Sunday morning at 2:21 and 7 seconds a.m. Eastern Time, 1:21 and 7 seconds a.m. Central Time. Assuming the weather cooperates and nothing interferes otherwise, otherwise, our launch coverage on NASA TV of the Crew 3 launch to the International Space Station will take place tomorrow night, Saturday night, October 30th, beginning at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central Time on NASA television. We are just a bit under 15 minutes until the International Space Station will see Progress arrive in its vicinity for the beginning of Progress's fly around. Again, a 114-degree maneuver by the Progress, all automated, to precisely align its forward docking probe, I should say, with the aft docking port of the Zvezda service module. That fly around will take about 10 minutes to complete, putting the Progress about 150 meters or so behind the aft port of the Zvezda service module for a moment or two of station keeping, allowing the Russian flight controllers to monitor its alignment to that docking port on Zvezda before the command is given for final approach to be initiated. At that point, it will take just a few minutes for the Progress to move in for contact and capture at a very slow speed of about 1/10 of a meter per second. Here in the flight control room, Paul Kanya, the flight director, has polled his team of flight controllers and has passed on to his counterpart, the SRP, or the shift flight director at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov, the fact that the ISS, the International Space Station, is go for docking of the Progress to the Zvezda service module. A couple of historic notes as we move into this final weekend in October. Sunday, the scheduled launch date for Crew 3 to the International Space Station also marks the 21st anniversary of the launch of Expedition 1, the first crew to launch to the International Space Station back on October 31st, 2000. The Expedition 1 commander, Bill Shepard, along with Sergei Krikalev and Yuri Gidzenko, the Soyuz commander, lifted off on October 31st, 2000 from the Baikonur Cosmodrome, arriving on the station on November 2nd to begin a permanent human presence on board the orbital outpost. The Progress is in the process of conducting a series of so-called impulse maneuvers, small engine firings that are designed to fine-tune its path to the International Space Station, all pre-programmed, everything continuing to proceed normally by the timeline that was provided for the Progress from its launch and a 2-day rendezvous to the International Outpost.
Mission Control ISS, we have maneuver at 7 o'clock. The station moves to 7 o'clock. Copy.
And what you were seeing there for just a moment, although it's a bit ratty at this particular moment in time, is a view from the external camera on the Progress resupply ship. In the lower left-hand corner, you see two values, 2.3, that's the distance right now between the Progress and the International Space Station in kilometers. Underneath it, minus 5.2 and decreasing. That's the rate of closure in meters per second to the International Space Station.
Copy. Thruster activation.
The station is under the control of Russian thrusters, 10 minutes away from the start of the fly-around by the Progress of the International Space Station.
And we have maneuver. Retrograde maneuver in process.
The report from the Russian Mission Control Center and flight controllers is that good data is being received from the Progress vehicle, now less than 2 kilometers away from the International Space Station, closing at a rate of just over 4 meters per second, exactly as planned for this point of the rendezvous, as we are just minutes away from the start of the fly-around by the Progress to align itself with the aft port of the Zvezda service module.
Начинаем работать по 21 странице. Проверьте, чтобы
Let's start on page 21. Full BPS. All buttons should be off. Yes, Toro is on. I'm checking all the keys on full BPS.
Клавиши отжаты.
All the keys are released. Activation.
Есть сеть питания ручек.
Power for handles. Full BPS initial on.
And as the International Space Station flies over the Pacific Ocean just to the northeast of the coast of Australia, the dot that you see at about the 10 o'clock position or so, that is the Progress resupply ship.
Now let's start route tests.
All of its systems in good shape, being guided toward the station by the Corps' automated rendezvous system.
Copy.
Рулу.
Rotational hand controller.
Отклоняем вверх.
Pulling it up.
Все 4 потом вижу горят.
All LEDs are illuminated, all 4 of them. In neutral position, no longer illuminated, pulling up.
Anton Shkaplerov and Pyotr Dubrov inside the Zvezda service module report that they have a good visual on the Progress resupply craft.
Neutral, no longer.
Again, soon to dock to the International Space Station, docking about 30 minutes from now to deliver almost 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies for the Expedition 66 crew.
And hand controller to the right.
Все 4 горят, витаем по...
All 4 are illuminated, and I'm putting the hand controller back in the neutral position. LEDs are no longer illuminated. Clockwise. All 4 LEDs are illuminated in the neutral position, no longer illuminated. Counterclockwise. All 4 are illuminated. Putting it in the neutral position, no longer illuminated, and I am moving on to the translation and hand controller test. Copy. Pulling it up.
The conversation you're hearing through the interpreter between the Russian flight controllers outside of Moscow and the cosmonauts inside the Zvezda service module as they conduct a test of the Toru, or the telerobotically operated rendezvous system.
Pulling towards myself. Illuminated. Pushing away. Illuminated, and in the neutral position, no longer illuminated. Copy. And I am ready to turn on POU BPS initial.
And an even better view from cameras on the outside of the International Space Station on the truss as the Progress slowly but surely closes in for its docking to the Zvezda service module.
Got the confirmation.
Ну, полностью.
All right, the test has been a success. Copy. Now,
Again, that telerobotically operated rendezvous system that Shkaplerov and Dubarov have just tested would be used by them to manually fly the Progress in for a docking in the event there would be a problem with the Core's automated rendezvous system. So far, the Core's is operating as advertised with no issues.
Андрей, по пункту 4.3 по происходу.
Andre, for 4.3, should I send the command? Yes. All right, will do.
Выдал. Включай.
And the command has been sent. Activation or roboter is on.
Все 4 горят.
All 4 are illuminated.
Включают пересветку.
And I am turning on the AGC mode.
Я думаю, достаточно того.
And this view of the International Space Station
And I can
from the external camera on the Progress, less than 1 kilometer from its destination. In fact, about 700 meters away, closing at the expected rate. Again, this resupply ship, unpiloted, launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on Wednesday night U.S. time, early Thursday morning at the Cosmodrome on a Soyuz 2.1A booster, arriving in orbit less than 9 minutes after liftoff,
monitor.
deployed its solar arrays and its navigational antennas, and has had so far a flawless 2-day journey to the International Laboratory.
When starts, please use page 22. All right, I'm moving on to page 22. Copy.
The International Space Station and Progress, flying in tandem with one another, just a few hundred meters apart, are flying 258 miles above the Pacific Ocean to the northeast of New Zealand.
Range weight is minus 1.35. Copy.
.580 meters now separating Progress from Zvezda. We're about 2.5 minutes away from the start of the fly-around. The fly-around to begin at the point at which Progress is just 400 meters away from the station.
Дальность 500 метров, скорость минус 11,36.
Range is 500 meters.
Принято.
And range weight is minus 1.36. We copy.
And again, a view of the station from Progress. In the lower left-hand corner, you see the distance ticking backward, now just 440 meters separating the two vehicles, closing at a rate of 1.2 meters per second.
Дали 400 метров, скорость минус 1.15. Контролируем.
Range is 400, and the range rate is minus 1.15, and we're monitoring the fly around. Copy.
And the fly around is now underway. A 114-degree maneuver.
And we confirm.
As the Progress automatically maneuvers itself into position, so it is just about 150 meters directly behind the aft port of the Zvezda service module for a period of about a minute or so of station keeping.
Guys, your time is 01:30. Copy. Anton, shadow is starting at 01:30. Copy. Orbital night is going to start in 15 minutes at 01:30. And just FYI, guys, the headlight is on via Карел. Copy. The headlight is on via Карел. And we see the progress, and we also see the headlight. Copy.
Anton Shkaplerov acknowledging that he has a good visual on the Progress. Shkaplerov arrived on board the International Space Station just 3 weeks ago on the Soyuz MS-19 vehicle. Pyotr Dubrov, joining Shkaplerov inside the Zvezda service module, has been aboard the orbital outpost since April.
Minus 0.67.
Shkaplerov, Dubrov, and NASA astronaut Mark Vande Hei scheduled to return to Earth in late March of next year. Currently, March 30th is the target date for landing that would bring Vande Hei and Dubrov home after 355 days in space. For Vande Hei, that would make him the record holder for the longest single human spaceflight in U.S. space history. The fly around of the station is continuing. 270 meters separating the two vehicles. Progress and the International Space Station now passing over the South Pacific. Everything proceeding on track. We're about 20 minutes away from docking.
250.
250 meters now separating Progress and the station.
Copy.
About 6 minutes left in the fly around before this brief period of station keeping gets underway. Again, the Progress soon to deliver almost 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies for the Expedition 66 crew on board the complex.
Размер SM, одна клетка.
SM size is 1 square, and the range is about 230 meters. Copy. And let's proceed with the fly around.
Coming up on the 200-meter mark, nearing the end of the fly-around. Progress soon to position itself directly behind the Zvezda service module at a distance of 150 meters for that brief period of station keeping.
So the range is 200 meters and range rate is minus 0.16. And the size of the progress is about a square. The size is about a square.
You can see engine firings on the progress. Once again, fine-tuning its path for its period of station keeping. Approaching the station keeping point, not quite there, in just a moment or two from now. The unpiloted progress doing exactly what it was programmed to do. Just about 200 meters separating progress from the station. You see just to the upper right of the center of the crosshairs, that's the docking port of the Zvezda service module, where the progress soon will link up to.
Oh, the radiogram. So the range is 200. We're standing by for your directions, Moscow. We confirm the roll maneuver. The range is 190.
And the progress is now in a roll maneuver. This will properly orient its solar arrays in the correct angle so that the final approach and docking is unobstructed. The docking port on the aft of the Zvezda service module just right about in the center of the crosshairs. About a minute and a half left in the fly-around before we begin station keeping. Everything remains on track. The Progress is in the neighborhood of the International Space Station, soon to complete its fly-around.
Anton, please issue.
And station keeping has begun. The fly-around now complete. This should be very, very brief. Russian flight controllers now assessing the alignment of the forward docking probe with the aft port of the Zvezda service module.
Activating display 44. Copy. We confirm approach, and I'm turning off operation. Operation is off. We are accelerating. All right, and then move to page 23, monitor automated approach.
And final approach is now underway. This will be a slow and methodical maneuver by the Progress, ever so slow to move in at ultimately a rate of about 1/10 of a meter per second for contact and capture of the docking port.
Range is 160. And the range rate is unintelligible minus 28. And the target is in the center of the periscope. Copy and copy. Range is 150. We just passed this mark. Copy.
Everything is going very smoothly so far. You can see almost right above the center of the crosshairs from this external camera on the Progress, the aft docking port of the Zvezda service module, which was launched to the International Space Station on a Proton rocket back in July of 2000. 120 meters separating Progress from the station, closing at a rate of 7/10 of a meter per second. Now a view of the Progress closing in from an external camera on the truss of the International Space Station as Progress and the station approach an orbital sunset over the Pacific Ocean. Less than 100 meters now separating Progress from the station.
Aligned, and the target is a little bit to the left. We copy. At 0125, we may have an LOS, but it's going to be a short one. Copy. Now we'll continue monitoring the process. SM is 3 squares, and the range is about 78 meters. We copy. The target is a little bit below, approximately 1 degree off. Copy.
–
6 minutes till orbital night. Copy.
We're about 1 minute away from a brief handover between satellites on our tracking and data relay satellite system. We'll be getting back the downlink signal within seconds after that brief loss of signal.
Problem. Copy.
65 meters separating Progress from the station.
So the range is about 55 meters based on and the target is in the center of the periscope. The crosshairs are aligned. We copy.
About 50 meters now separating progress. We're waiting to reacquire our downlink signal through the tracking and data relay satellite system. This view from a balcony camera in the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside Moscow. Russian flight controllers in contact with cosmonauts Anton Shkaplerov and Pyotr Dubrov inside the Zvezda service module, which will be the port of call just a few minutes from now for the Progress 79 cargo craft.
The docking node is about 2 squares, and the range is approximately 140 meters. Do you have confirmation that SSB is ready? Yes. We have the confirmation, and the target is to the right a little bit.
40 meters now separating progress. We have our signal back.
Please send abort and breakaway enabled and UVK Zakar or UVK closed. Please do not send this command. Copy. So currently docking node is 2.5 squares. And I'm sending BPS initial command. The range is about 130. Operation is on. Operation is confirmed, and I am sending the breakaway enabled. Copy. And I'm continuing to monitor the situation. The crosshairs are aligned. So, please move to page 24. So, docking node is 3 squares, and the range is approximately 25. The crosshairs are aligned, and the target is a few degrees off.
Progress in the International Space Station crossing the coast of Chile. 25 meters now separating progress in the station.
2 minutes till orbital night. Copy. Range is about 20 meters, and the docking node is about, the size of it is about 3 squares. The crosshairs are aligned. We copy. Talking over each other. Copy. I see everything very clearly. So we are past the size of the target equals 1 square. Copy.
You can see the docking target on the aft port of the Zvezda service module, almost in the crosshairs. The progress being guided in by the Corps' automated rendezvous system, less than 20 meters now. Everything is reported to be nominal in the Progress's approach for its docking to Zvezda as we move into an orbital sunset.
I am ready to work with the AGC. I don't see the target. I see the target. There is a little bit of a 5-degree roll. The target is in the center of the periscope, and the crosshairs are aligned. We copy. So the size of the target, the angular size of the target is about 2 squares. The center of the target is a little bit off to the right by 1 degree. We copy.
Coming up on the 10-meter mark.
The target is about 2.5 squares. We just passed this mark. We copy.
Progress closing at the expected rate of about 1/10 of a meter per second.
Meters. The target is in the center.
The 5 meters now, standing by for contact and capture.
The range is 1 meter. Copy. The crosshairs are aligned, and the target is in the center.
Contact confirmed.
Mechanical contact.
And capture confirmed at 8:31 p.m. Central Time, 9:31 p.m. Eastern Time.
And
as Progress and the International Space Station flew 258 miles over Argentina, just south of Buenos Aires.
Now, please deactivate Toru on our go after probe retraction. Copy.
The docking probe on the Progress now retracting. That will bring the Progress docking surface flush with the aft port of the Zvezda service module to initiate the closing of the hooks. It doesn't get much smoother than that. A flawless ride from launch pad in Baikonur to docking at the International Space Station. Contact and capture docking occurring at 8:31 p.m. Central Time, 9:31 p.m. Eastern Time. Another 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies being delivered to the International Space Station. The docking probe about halfway now in its maneuver to drive the 2 docking surfaces of the Progress and the Zvezda service module flush against one another. That will initiate the closing of the hooks to form a hard mate. We're almost at the completion of the retraction of the forward docking probe on the Progress. Again, the launch of this resupply ship, the unpiloted Progress 79, occurred on Wednesday night U.S. time, early Thursday morning at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on a Soyuz 2.1A booster, an 8-minute 45-second ride to its preliminary orbit. The Progress separated from the upper stage, the 3rd stage of the Soyuz booster, deployed its solar arrays and navigational antennas, and began what turned out to be a perfect 2-day journey for its docking to the aft port of the Zvezda service module, just standing by now for the closing of the hooks to form a hard mate between Progress and Zvezda. And the hooks are now driving. This will take just a couple of minutes, and a hard mate will be formed between Progress and the Zvezda service module. This is Mission Control Houston. The hooks are now confirmed to be closed between Progress and the Zvezda service module, so we now have a hard mate between the newly arrived cargo ship and the Zvezda service module. Cosmonauts Anton Shkaplerov and Pyotr Dubrov will conduct leak checks at the docking interface between Zvezda and Progress to ensure that we have an airtight mate between the two vehicles before they open the hatch later this evening to begin to unload some of the more time-critical cargo on board the Progress resupply ship. Almost 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies now in the process of having been delivered to the international outpost. So Progress completed a perfect 2-day rendezvous from its launch in the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan to arrive at the International Space Station, docking occurring at 8:31 p.m. Central Time, 9:31 p.m. Eastern Time, as the two vehicles flew 258 miles over Argentina, just south of Buenos Aires. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage with one programming note. It's not over at the station. Multiple vehicles coming and going, and next up in the queue, the Crew 3 launch of Commander Raja Chari, pilot Tom Marshburn, Mission Specialist Matthias Maurer of the European Space Agency, and Mission Specialist Caleb Barron of NASA as they ride the Crew Dragon Endurance from Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center to the International Space Station. Our coverage tomorrow night begins at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central Time, with docking scheduled on Halloween on Sunday, October 31st at 2:21 and 7 seconds a.m. Eastern Time, 1:21 and 7 seconds a.m. Central Time on Sunday morning. Reviews of preparations for launch are continuing down at the Kennedy Space Center. Weather permitting, the launch will take place in the wee hours of Sunday morning, bringing 4 new crew members to join the Expedition 66 crew on the International Outpost. For now, that will wrap up our coverage. Progress 79, the cargo ship, having arrived at the International Space Station, docking was by the book, no issues reported, and new supplies are now about to be brought on board the International Complex. So with that, we'll call it an evening. We hope you have a great weekend. Don't forget to tune in for our coverage of the Crew 3 launch. In the meantime, a good Friday night to you all from Mission Control in Houston.
Manual controls.